Hi guys, welcome back to the No Gluten Zone. Thank you for joining me today. Today I want to do a video about the NEMA sensor. In my future videos, I know I'll be referring to it a lot, so I wanted to make it kind of my first video on my new channel and kind of so you're familiar with it and you understand what it is and what it does and what I'm talking about. This is the No Gluten Zone. Please consider clicking subscribe and the bell to be notified for future videos. And thanks for joining me again. So I want to talk about the NEMA sensor today. Just a real quick little overview of it. So let me show you. It comes in this little pouch to store it in. I do keep this in my purse. There are cases out there for other things that people have been using for the NEMA sensor. The ones that I'm aware of, I will put links down below for those so you can check them out if you already have a NEMA or if you want one for it, if you're going to order one. But it does come in this little pouch and it stores in here. And there's a divider down the middle of the pouch. So I used to keep on one side my NEMA and on the other side my capsules. But I changed and I'll explain that in just a minute. So this is what it looks like. This is the front. It's off right now. Let me see, if I turn it on, it will tell you here, push button to start. So you fill your capsule and you screw the top on and then you slide it in here. It's a one-time use capsule and then you push the start. And it's telling me right here, my last test was 5 days ago and it's showing me the smiley face because my test result was gluten-free. If it finds gluten, it will show like a little wheat symbol and say gluten found. And when you push it to start, it has like a little pattern, a little design, and it will say testing for gluten. They do also have a peanut sensor now for people with peanut allergies, which is awesome. And I believe they're working on more types of sensors for the future for other allergenic foods. So I got this in October of 2016. Well, this is the new generation one, so this is my second one. But my first one, I have both of them now. My first one I got in October of 2016. So I've been using it for over 2 years. And I thought it over for quite a while because I knew it was coming and I was thinking it over, should I buy this or not, when the time comes. And I ended up buying it on the very last day of the pre-sale. I made the decision, I got money for my birthday, and that's what I used it for. A big factor in my decision was my son. My son is about to turn 10 in a couple weeks, and he was 3 at the time he was diagnosed, right after me. I was diagnosed at the age of 40, and then I said, wait a minute, maybe this is what's going on with my son, because we were having a lot of issues, and he was tested, and yes, he also had celiac disease. And since then, we've done genetic testing, and yes, we both carry the genes as well, just as more confirmation. Just because you have the genes, though, doesn't mean you have active celiac disease, just a tip. I'll talk about genetic testing in a video at some point in the future, because it is very good stuff for lots of things, not just gluten issues. So anyways, getting back to the NEMA sensor. So I used to carry 3 capsules in here with it, and there have been times where 3 capsules wasn't enough, just being totally honest here. It's up to you to decide how you want to use it and what you need it for. But if I go to a restaurant, and if there's an appetizer, that's going to be a capsule, right? And then if there's a super salad, there's another capsule. If there's an entree, there's another capsule. Then if dessert comes, there's another capsule. And if I make a mistake and I mess one up, now I'm down another one. So things can happen, and then there can be something else that someone orders and, ooh, I want to test that. So sometimes you need more. So I now carry 4, and I know this isn't very stylish. I'm still working on getting my stuff set up, but I just have them in this little zipper baggie. I have these 4. I honestly don't eat out very often. I'm pretty much at home. I make a lot of things from scratch. Pretty much whatever I am craving, I find a way to make it gluten-free, and I do it. Same thing for my son. So I hope to do future videos on different things. If there's something you want to know how to make gluten-free, comment down below and I will try to do a video on that. I'll see if I know how to do it. If I don't, I'll figure it out and then I'll share that, okay? So again, getting back to the NEMA sensor. So the NEMA sensor is a tool. And you need to decide for yourself if it's a tool that you could use or need or would benefit from or not. Some people really, really dislike this sensor. And I don't really get it. I could see someone saying like, I don't need that in my life, and that's okay. That's a personal decision and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't have anything against those people. But there are people out there, seriously, on the internet who are trying to convince other people that this is not useful and they don't need it. And I think that's just nonsense. I'm sorry, it just is. Make up your own mind and let people make up their own minds, okay? It is a tool, and tools work about as good as the user of the tool knows how to use it, right? And nothing's perfect in life, including this. There can be mistakes. Having said that though, I can honestly tell you, I've been using this for over 2 years, and it has never steered me wrong. If it says it's gluten-free and I eat it, I have not gotten sick. If I'm getting gluten, a lot of the things I test are just things in my home, things that we bring in from the grocery store and they're not marked clearly, or if they're not certified gluten-free, they just say gluten-free. Honestly, like, so many of those things are not gluten-free. It's just ridiculous, the labeling laws and whatnot. So those are things that I test if I'm unsure or questioning. If it's a brand I'm not familiar with and I don't know if they're trustworthy. So I test a lot of those things. There have been several occasions where I'm getting sick or my son's getting sick, or both of us are getting sick, and we know it's gluten, and I will use my NEMA to narrow it down and figure out where it's coming from, and it's been so useful with that. So it's a great tool for a lot of reasons. So getting back to the point of it's as good as the user knows how to use it, right? I hope I'm saying that clearly, but that's basically true. NEMA does have tips and tricks on their website. I printed out some little notes here that I will share with you, and I will also put a link down below to these tips and tricks, the article on this, so you can see it for yourself if you're interested. But you know, if you're doing like appetizer or salad, something with a sauce or a salad dressing, liquids are easy. You just give it a stir if you can. Even if you can't, it's pretty well mixed. And you just need a drop or two. I probably do 1 drop, maybe sometimes 2, depending what else is going in the capsule. Because if you overfill your capsule, you will get an error result and you'll have to use another capsule. So you don't want to overfill. You need to be cautious with that. So again, liquids are really easy. A drop or 2 of that liquid should give you an accurate result. You know, if you have lettuce or maybe a piece of gluten-free bread or something, whatever you're getting, you know, pick it up and wipe it around the plate in the sauce and in the other stuff, and that'll give you a bit more accurate result as well. Soups, again, liquid, it's easy. Maybe give it a stir, take your little sample. With finger foods, make sure your hands are clean. One more point, what I do now keep in here, I told you how there's a divider in the middle, so my NEMA sensor is on one side. On the other side, I keep a dropper, super useful for doing liquids, and then tweezers, which is so great for getting a small enough sample. And then NEMA did send this along with my NEMA sensor. It's just an example of the sample size that you want in there. So I used it a lot in the beginning. I don't really use it anymore, but it's still there. If I kind of need to show someone else at some point, it's there. And then they sent this really nice little laminated card. It's really sturdy, telling you about the NEMA, suggestions for what to do if your result is gluten found, foods that NEMA can't test. We will talk about that in just a minute. Testing tips, and if you're getting errors, some problem solving and what you can do. So that's honestly what I have in here. Getting back to these tips and tricks, if you're testing a pizza, make sure you test both your crust and your toppings. Same thing like with anything, I usually make sure I take a sample from the top and the bottom of breads, just about everything, because you don't know what came in contact with both sides. So I usually do that. Test places that might have shared surfaces. If you see grill marks, you want to test right there. It was in touch with a surface, right? Take a sample from a cut mark. If you have a sandwich and they cut it in half, or on your pizza where they cut it with the cutter, those are areas that you want to make sure you're testing from. We just had this issue. We were on a trip. I will do a video in the future on traveling with celiac disease, but we did just take a trip, and we did eat out a few times with pretty good results. And there was one place we ordered a grilled cheese for my son, and it tested with gluten. And the owner himself, he didn't say if he had celiac disease, but he was very, very sensitive to gluten. He was very understanding and very knowledgeable, and he couldn't figure it out. And he finally decided it had to be the knife. They cut the sandwich in half. And because he said they cooked it on tin foil, you know, like everything wasn't on a shared surface, nothing. And it had to be the knife that cut it. So if you have a cut mark, make sure you test from right there. Taking small samples from around the whole plate. I try to have a little piece of everything I see on my plate in there, teeny tiny samples. Seemingly innocent veggies can be produced on shared spaces, so make sure you sample. Never assume that something's safe. Just recently I saw there was a conversation going on online about people getting sick at this one particular restaurant chain, and everyone was commenting that they were getting gluten from the broccoli, of all things. Like, how can they contaminate broccoli? And someone finally said they know people who work there, and they asked them, and they had one big, like, I guess you call it like community pot where they boil stuff, and they have pasta on the menu. So they boil their pasta there, and they boil everything there, including the broccoli. So the gluten pasta is being boiled, and now there's gluten in the water, and then they boil up broccoli in the gluten water. So never just assume something's safe. Test it. As long as you're already doing the test, include it, right? If your meat has a sauce, make sure you test both the meat and the sauce. Moving on to desserts, don't just test the cake part of the cake. Make sure you get your frosting or fondant or toppings, whatever's on there on top. And the same thing with pies. Do your pie crust as well as the filling. And I would do the bottom of the crust and the top of the crust, right?
And also, I wanted to say that
this is my son Joseph. He also has celiac disease. I was talking about him earlier.
And if you want, you should try doing separate capsules. So if you have you might want to do the frosting and the cake separate, in case, so you can know which one has gluten, and you can ask them to redo that.
You could do that, yes. We were just recently on a trip, like I mentioned, and I made sure I did his food separate from my food. I would do his first. So, because if you get a gluten found, then it's like, now what do we know? We don't even know which one it is. And only once on our trip, I will do a future video on traveling with celiac. Only one thing, his grilled cheese at that one place found gluten. Everything else was safe. But at least I knew right there, okay, yours is not safe, and then mine was. So you can combine them together in one, but sometimes it's better to separate, just depends. So anyways, getting back to this, there's 2 more tips here, just things that NEMA can't test. There are limitations, things that are fermented. So it cannot test things that are fermented. So soy sauce, you can't test if your soy sauce has gluten or not. Alcohol, gluten-free beers, things like that. You will not be able to test those things. So just know the limitations, be cautious with those things, and just use it as wisely as you can. I highly recommend it. Decide for yourself if it's right for you or not. I did reach out to NEMA, and they gave me a discount code, so I will include the details of that and the code and all those things down below. Things I mentioned, I will be sure to put them down there. I did start a Facebook group. I don't remember how long ago it was. When I had my NEMA, I was excited. I wanted to talk to other people with NEMAs and share our results and experiences. I'm just a nerd that way. I like to connect with people with common interests. And there was no group out there, so I started one on Facebook called NEMA Sensor Users, and I'll put a link for that down below too, because we've had some good conversations and things. So thank you so much for joining me. Comment down below if you have a NEMA and what you think of it. Or if you want to get one and you have questions or what have you, make sure you comment below. And please comment on topics that you would like me to do future videos on. That's very helpful to me to get you the content that you're interested in. And have a blessed day. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye-bye.